Hello there and welcome to Sarah Bates Design Training, and tonight this session is all about branding. I just wanted to basically say welcome and hope you are all okay. You can hear me well. If anyone's out there, I can see the comments. So, and if you're not, then you can listen to me on replay, and that will be absolutely fine. So tonight I thought it was really important. We've talked about content. We have talked about our overall style. We've talked about kind of social media, optimizing our pages in all the previous training. And tonight I really want to talk about something that I am passionate about, and that is branding. Branding isn't just a logo. I know people out there might think it is, but it isn't. It's about everything else. So I've got some slides. I'm going to dive in. I'm not quite sure if anybody's here or not, but I'm going to plow on ahead. The internet seems to be working today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Bates. I'm the graphic designer, the design solution for entrepreneurs. I have been a graphic designer for many, many, many years, and I've also taught design and marketing and social and art to business people, to students. Hi, David. I've got one viewer, my trusty steed. Thank you. So I know my stuff, and I've also been designing logos for small businesses for a long, long time and in charge of their branding. So it's very important, not just as a designer, but you need to get it as a small business owner, because every business needs design right now to show up on social media, to connect with their audience, because it is a multi-platform environment now. We can't just rely on having a van and a business card. So I will dive straight in to, and I will share my screen with my slides. And then we're going to go straight into that. Okay, so this evening, branding, top tips. I say top tips, I quite like saying it, but basically it's not meant to be frivolous. It's a freebie, but these are really, really valuable, and please take some away, start implementing them if you haven't already. And I am going to, here we go. So I'm going to go on the right slide. So basically, I'm going to start through. So what we're going to cover is what is branding, why does it matter, the so what, and we're going to cover 10 points that make sure your branding stands out and is stronger. Now, as you can see from the right-hand side, I designed FES Group, being the F and the G logo. I had to make sure it worked on a van. I had to make sure it worked on branding, on literature that he was giving out to his clients. And I also had to make sure it worked on social to be able to see all those individual bits. And the logo has to work. It has to work, you know, being in the center. It has to work in one line. It has to work on your van. And David was so pleased with his van graphic. It made me smile every time I see it. So during the last year, consumer habits have changed, and it's changed around brand and how they perceive businesses and what they want from businesses. And it kind of, there's been lots and lots of reports, and it's all highlighted how audiences, their behavior has changed and why they think differently. And they're now seeing products as solutions. They don't just want one because they need one. They've got a problem, and it's about learning how our products and our services can solve their problems. They've got super high expectations, and that's not only on the product, but actually the delivery, how we actually communicate with our customers. They're demanding more experience, a quicker experience, a slicker experience, and their attention spans are shorter. And so the immediacy of information, whether that's on your Facebook page, whether that's on your website, whether that's looking at your flyer, they want to consume that information quickly. And certainly on a website, if they don't get that information, they're off and they're gone, and will rarely come back unless they're loyal to the particular product or your brand. So what is branding? branding is a way of defining your business to yourself, to your team, and to your audience. That's what it does. It defines your business. The image of the company portrays, and that's just not necessarily the image that we see with the logo. The image is about how you feel. It portrays to the outside world. And it should never, ever, ever be an accident. It shouldn't be, oh yeah, that was my logo and you know, my mate just knocked it up kind of thing. It shouldn't be. It should be about being purposeful, because if you're very purposeful about your business and wanting to get the lifestyle that you want, and that's why you're in business, your branding, your marketing, your identity of your business should be really paramount to how you connect with your audience, and it should be really considered. It is not just a logo. It's about everything else. And your logo should embody the core messages, your values, what it looks like, what it sounds like. So your branding is every single touch point that you have with your customer. It's their journey. So it's the email that you send. It's how you answer the phone. It's what you look like in front of that customer. It's how you roll up in that van. It's how you send your letters. It's how you sign off. Do you say best regards, cheers, thanks? How do you do this? And everything is about the brand, the touch point with the consumer, with your customer, with your potential customers. And that's really important to understand. It's not just a logo. The benefits of strong branding is that our customers connect emotively. Now, I know, and you should maybe, if you've listened to all of these trainings, that if a customer is emotively engaged, if you've connected with them on an emotional level, they're much more likely to know, like, and trust. They're much more likely to have a propensity to buy from you if you've emotionally connected with them. And that doesn't mean that you've made them cry. You could have done. It could be joy. It could be surprise. Anything at all that you've moved that person in an emotional way, they are much more likely to remember you, to come back to you, to have that propensity to buy. And so your brand has got to convey, it's got to have a meaning. It isn't just something that you thought about. You've got to really think about why you've set this business up, what you want to achieve. And if you've got a strong brand, that encourages loyalty and advocacy. So the loyalty of those repeating customers coming back, the fact that they will refer you, they will tell others about you. And this obviously promotes and drives sales. And consumers remember who you are if you have a strong brand. If they've remembered that experience of buying that product from you, if they've remembered your logo, if they've remembered how you came up to the van, the efficiency, the how you spoke to them, every single thing about that experience, that touch point with that customer has to be considered. A consumer is more likely to buy from brands they know and like. And this come out in this recent report, when feeling connected to a brand, 75% of consumers will increase their spend. That's huge. When feeling connected to a brand, 57% of consumers will increase their spending. So when we're thinking about growing our business, if we just think about that, 50% of consumers will increase their spending if they feel connected. Our existing customers already feel connected. So sometimes when we think about growing our business and we're thinking externally of new leads all the time, actually, if we've got a really strong brand, look to our existing customers as well for that referral, for those added value elements that you can sell them. So the first question that we ask is, or I ask, is, what's your company name? Do you have a strapline? Does it add value, this strapline, to explain what you do? You know, if we said HSBC, nobody's going to type that in, are they? The world's local bank is great as a strapline because it's adding keywords in. It's enabled people to go, oh, local bank account. They're more likely to come up if they somehow got that in their strapline. And also, does it include a keyword, a search term? My name, company name is Sarah Bates Design. I've got the word design in there. So when somebody types in design, I'm more likely to come up. So there's a reason why strap lines are there. So if we looked at these logos now, these identities to identify a business, you wouldn't say, would you, they all look the same? Or I hope not. And you may think they're for different things, they're for different people, and you'd be absolutely right. Now, how do we know that? If we didn't actually know the brand, or we didn't actually read English or whatever it would be, and we just got beamed down onto this planet, and you wanted to look at some products, you wouldn't really have a clue, would you, as to what these do, unless you started to look properly. So this tick is about movement and being powerful, and it's red, therefore it's strong and it's bold. And you know, the VW logo here is compact, and it's kind of constructed and maybe engineered, and it looks reliable because it fits together. So you'd be much more likely to buy a car from there than you would maybe a logo that was all over the place. So each logo identity has an element, it has a value, it communicates a message. Burger King, it's in a burger, it's in a bun, and it's got this circle around it, which is kind of like the dinner plate, or the fact that there's a holistic element, the provider of the things, but the word King's in there and burger, and it's in one. So it's kind of, it's almost fun with the colours as well. Innocent is very naive drawing. Therefore, we don't think it's some big corporate accountancy firm. The fact that the writing's in lowercase, maybe it's childlike. So already, by looking at these things, you will have an idea, you'll have a message somehow, whether you realize it or not, that something's been communicated to you. And designers do this through color, composition, font. All those things are formal elements. But the first question I would ask you is what your company name is. Do you have a strap line? Does it add value? And does it include a search term? And the other element is that what we have is that we've got, you know, consider the elements of branding. All the different elements come into it. So brand awareness. What do consumers think of your brand? If I asked you this, what do consumers think of your brand? What are they saying? What do you want them to say about your business? That's the stuff, that's the powerful stuff you need to communicate through your social. That's what matters. What do you want them to think, feel, say about your brand? That's about raising brand awareness. Brand recognition is the ability for your potential customers or your customers to identify you immediately and possibly even stand out from your competitors. So for me, you've got to work out what sets your business apart. Is it the colours? Is it the ideal? Is it the strap line? What is it that sets your brand apart? Okay. The other one is trust. Now, how we develop trust is by showing up on social, by doing videos. People can see how passionate you are or how honest they are. They will make judgments. And if you've got lots of reviews, if you've got some social proof, some recommendations, that also brings trust, develops trust. If you've got recommendations, lots of your customers keep coming back to you. That also shows an element of trust. So you've got to use these things and tell other people about it, because if you don't, nobody else will. Brand loyalty is basically how we work and develop and communicate and develop a relationship with our customers. So basically, you've just got to think about, given a choice, would your customers, would any individual choose to come to your brand over another? And that's where they have this brand loyalty. And it's because sometimes it's reliable, isn't it? It's consistent. People know what they're getting. So if you think of supermarkets or drinks, I certainly have preferences. That could just be about taste. It could be about experience. it could be about the product. I certainly do think that most people have an allegiance to supermarkets, which is really very interesting, and I'm not really going to go there because I only have half an hour. This is my new style. So brand consistency, you have to rock up all the time, know, like, and trust, and be consistent. And your brand has to look the same on all the platforms. Okay, it's really important. You might be bored of your brand, you might be bored of your colors and your fonts, but please don't. Your customers are not. They want instant recognition, and they want to know that it's reliable. They're on your page, they're on your website, so don't change it up. What does your company do? Now, all of you should have a benefit statement. By a benefit statement, that's not saying I'm the graphic designer, I know about colors, I can design logos, I can design a brochure. It's about saying, Sarah Bates offers the design solution for entrepreneurs. I can help your business grow through design and marketing and training. All of a sudden, I know by that statement who I'm aiming at, and they know what benefit I will give them by coming to me. So you should really all have a benefit statement. And remember, feature highlights is about your services and products, and the benefit statement is your customers' problems and how you are solving them. What do they gain from doing business with you? And that's really important. And if you haven't already got a brand story, please get one, because people actually really want to know. It's probably replacing the about page. People really want to know your story. Number 4, what are your and your company's goals? And this is even before we started on colors and anything else. We need these things, these fundamental things in place. So what are your and your company's goals? They might be the same, they might not. Are they aligned? And what does that cost? Put a figure on it. Now, the first time I was asked to do this, I was like, oh my God, what do you mean? Well, how many holidays do you want? Where do you want to live? What kind of car do you want? That could be the lifestyle stuff. Do I want to support my children until they're 500 years old? Maybe not. Or do I want to put them in private school? What do I want to do in life? And obviously that's why I'm running a business, because I don't want to be poor. And I don't want to be in the weeds at the bottom struggling. I want to grow my business so that helps me get my goals and get the lifestyle that I actually want. So what does it cost? And then how are you going to achieve these goals? Because that's fundamental. If you don't start planning to how you can achieve these goals, you'll always be stuck in the weeds. You'll always be down at the bottom. We need to plan. And that failure to plan is planning to fail. See, I said it. And so you need that plan, and you need to then break that down into steps. Okay. So consider what is driving your business. What's the kind of, fundamental driver that's making you get up in the morning and have this business? And then break that down. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve by the end of this year, which is only kind of, autumn, not very long, only a few months. I won't say the C word, but just think about it. Number 5, know your competitors. Now, that doesn't mean you get imposter syndrome and think they're really super good and doing so much better than you. This is being realistic. Who's your direct competition? Who are they? What are they doing? And what are you doing? What kind of language do they use? How often are they showing up on social media? Do some research, go and find out. And what's the difference? Sometimes that's a really interesting thing to look at, is what are they doing and what are you doing, and what is that difference? And then that make you think, what do you actually have to do it better? Or you might think, do you know what? I'm doing pretty well. I am doing it better. But if you don't research, if you aren't keeping a lookout, a lateral lookout on what's going on out there with your competitors, you won't know. Okay. And also do some social listening as to what their audience is saying on their social media platforms. So if we look at these kind of effective branding now, each one of them is actually knowing what everybody else does. Sainsburys has just got an ad running at the moment to say they've price matched Aldi. on their basic items. There's all stuff going on. Now, how can they benefit us? They benefit us by telling us what we want to know. So if you're a Sainsbury's shopper, but you've actually been nipping into Aldi because they do cheaper, nicer wine or whatever it would be, Sainsbury's are now telling me that same wine's in there. So I'm going to go. All these people do social listening. All of them look at their competitors, but they're not pretending to be each other. They're just being aware. And that's what you need to do. Then we come on to audience. So know and identify your audience. You need to find out what they need and what they want. So what are their problems? And you cannot at all be everything to everyone. So please, it's important, really super important to remember this. There's no way that your company's brand is going to speak to everyone. The previous supermarket people certainly don't. They have a confidence in their brand. And farm foods, we know, is very different to Waitrose, even if we didn't know what the supermarkets were like, because we can see through that branding, it's very different. It's communicating a different thing. And that's entirely up to you what you want to make of that. But what we need to do is you need to be absolutely on target with who your audience is. You need to clarify that. Some people say you need to make, an avatar. Is it Ethel or is it Brian, or could it be both? What do they do in their day? What are their problems? But the problems are the fundamental thing you need to know about. What are they speaking about? What are their concerns and frustrations? And how are your products and services going to meet their problems, going to eradicate their problems or help ease them? And if you niche, if you go down and narrow your target audience, your marketing message can be so much stronger. So please, when we ask who your customers are, you can't say everyone. And just think of those supermarkets. And when we think about logos and branding, again, it's exactly the same, depending on the typeface, depending on the quality of line around the fat face logo, or is it Formula One with the speed here and the one that's the negative elements that's here? Everything communicates a message. London Symphony Orchestra is fluid, yet it's also the conductor, and he's got his baton here and he's being energized. Field Guild writers, it's beautiful fountain pen. And yet the middle of it, which is the inkwell, where the ink would come out, is a spoon. And it kind of gives that element of heritage using ink pens. So for me, logos do matter, and they matter because whether you get it or not, they do communicate a message. And that's, as we go on to, that's your identity and visually designing your business. So your logo must be versatile. It must work on the website, email, social, profiles, print, business cards, everything. And it can't just be one static thing, I don't think, anymore, because it's got to communicate on all levels and look appropriate and beautiful and high quality on all levels of whether it's print or the internet or your email or your letterhead, whatever it would be. It's got to communicate your brand values, instantly memorable or recognizable. It should be simple and scalable. So it needs to work on a pen as well as it would do on a billboard. And you can't get that by just having a JPEG format. So if you have your logo designed, or if you've just had it designed, go back. If you haven't got a PDF, a PNG and a JPEG, you need to do. And you need to make sure that you have it in all the different elements to be able to work on social media platforms, websites, everything. And for me, you should also have a brand guideline. I would never design any logo at all without a brand guideline, which shows my clients the colors to use. It breaks them down into CYMK, which is for print, RGB for screen, hex codes, which is the little hashtag code, which website designers use, Canva uses. So you need to know them. Ideally, 2 typefaces. Typefaces, it could be Times New Roman and Helvetica, and use the weights, bold, italic, and possibly 1 script for like a handwritten personal message, if that's appropriate. For me, just recently, I've also provided on my brand guidelines the alternative fonts that are used in Canva, because Canva they won't pay for licenses for normal fonts. So they do copies of and call them a different name, which I don't necessarily agree with, but that's the way it is. Number 8, what is your overall style of your brand? Is it modern? Is it traditional? Fun, exciting, childish, informative, very, very businesslike and formal and trusted, as you would expect banks to be? Vintage, nostalgic, feminine, masculine. If you've got a really strong style, you need to stick with it, because that is absolutely brilliant and it's recognizable. And this particular brand goes through their packaging, it's sustainable, everything about it shows quality, and that's what they want to exude. And when we look at different styles, I'm just going to go through these really super quickly. Abstract, clean, minimalist, conceptual, flat, playful, feminine, luxurious, organic. It's the colors, it's the way that the type is, it's the composition of the fonts, composition of the logo, how does it work? And depending on the style, the vintage retro hummingbird is very different to a man with one of those faces book cover, isn't it? Where you're just using typography. So number 9, we're getting through these and I'm getting on time, is about defining your key phrases. So we've gone through loads of things about branding, about your website, your file formats, your colors, your audience, your goals, your values, everything like that. And now it's about kind of also the nitty gritty, because if you're going to show up on your website, if you're going to show up on your social, you need to have some key phrases which define kind of who you are. And keywords are the words and phrases that describe what your content is about. They're the things your target audience is going to be typing in the search bar. And as well as I do, if we type in something in Google, it shows a list. That's a list of what people have searched for, the common ones. You'll go on the web page, and at the bottom, also searched as, at the bottom on Google. You can go on places like Answer the Public and type in a phrase, like I typed in design, logo design, and loads of things, phrases came up. And you need to be really conscious about those phrases. So know your audience's problems. Use their language. Don't use your technical language to type in to find out what the searches are. Use their language. Have a look at the competition. Understand the important topics that you're actually wanting to convey to get across on social that relates to your products. And choose low competition words. So if I chose graphic designer, I wouldn't come anywhere. There's little old me against these big, huge corporate, vast design consultancies. And they're going to pay a lot of money to show up. So I might choose logo designer York, logo designer Leeds. I've got much more of a chance to come up. So when you start to look at these keywords and phrases, the higher the volume is not always the best. And I would definitely choose one that's demographically linked to your business, because that Google wants to show up for their users. So if you're in Kidderminster and you're typing in logo design, they will look at what the logo designers are in that area and show them up first. So to have keywords that are linked demographically is also really important. And then we come to 10, and it's about being consistent. And yet again, I have forgot my triangle. So once you've got your brand idea, once you've got your colors, it's about and your values and your goals. You've got all of those things in place. It's about being consistent, not just with what you're saying, not just with how you're showing up, but it's everything to do with that customer journey. At every single point of those customer touch points, you have to be the same. Your team has to be the same. So they all need to be all on the same page when you're talking about your brand. The brand is the identity of the company. It's also what your customers remember. It's the experience that you've given them. Remember about building that know, like, and trust. Make everything the same. So if you're crisp and clean on your blog, make sure your social media is, make sure your shop front is, make sure your website is. Be consistent visually as well as physically with everything that you do, how you speak on the phone. And it's important to maintain brand consistency on all channels, as we've just said. So we have gone through a lot very, very quickly. It's now 7:30. So to be easily recognizable, you need to have a style and a brand presence. You need to have your tone of voice, which we've alluded to a little bit, but not gone in great detail. That's for another training session. These are my brand guidelines that I give to my customers. They've got the colors on, the fonts, all the different formats of the logo, and actually how to use those different formats on colors so they actually rocking up consistently and they look good. So for a design to be effective, remember, we have to connect emotionally with our audience. Okay, we're always asked, aren't we? Look at these smiley faces. How do you feel about your business? We are always asked, whether it's a phone call from BT or the ice cream we've just had, how do you want your customers to feel? So think about reviews, think about connecting with them and asking them. So that's me. It's 7:31. Branding 10 top tips. And if you want to get the freebie handout that goes with this training, please sign up to sarahbatesdesign.co.uk/subscribe. And thank you very, very much for being with me tonight. David, my trusty steed, is here. And for the rest of you watching the replay, please get in touch if you need any more training. If you want to have any ideas, I'll be gladly help to show up and provide more training. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Bye-bye.